Hey folks, Rob here. And if you watch one of my previous videos, you know that I picked up the Heritage Rough Rider. This is the 7.5 inch. This is what they call the Classic. I don't know where that name comes from, but this is one of the few Heritages that I have found with a 7.5 inch barrel. And up top we have our Ruger Wrangler 7.5 inch. Both these have the same barrel length. And so I thought we'd take a look and compare them and see. This one is about 169, 170, and about 206 is roughly. So, you know, a little less expensive, a little more expensive. These are not the factory grips. The Ruger Wranglers come with a black plastic grip. So these are premium gun grips that I added to this gun. So those are not factory grips, but these are the factory grips for the Heritage. So first let's take a look at the Heritage, and these guns are unloaded. This gun has never been fired. So to check your cylinders, you would put it on half cock and rotate it around, and we are clear. And I'll give you a close look at and I think Altamont makes most of these grips for the Heritages. Now, this is a Zamac frame, and you know, Heritages are not known for their top quality finishes. So you can see there is some, and it's noticeably worse on the trigger guard. You can see there that there's a lot of, I don't know if that's splotches or if that's just a wear on the finish or just poorly finished, but there you can see some of the imperfections in the finish on the frame. And I've never gotten one of these yet that has had a perfect frame. I don't know if they make them or not without a blemish somewhere. You can see there. So that's kind of some of the difference you pay for in the higher price of the Ruger. This is a 7.5 inch barrel, and these are steel barrels, steel cylinder. So you do have the Zamac frame, and this is more of a traditional. You have your safety knots, you have your half cock, and then you have full cock. So this actually clicks 4 times. So that's got the 4 click. You do have your manual safety on here, which is a hammer block safety. You can see there that there's a gap between the hammer and the frame, and when you lower that, it allows the hammer to contact the firing pin, and when I put it back on, you see it forces the hammer back away from the firing pin. These are awesome little plinking guns. The finish on the aluminum parts or Zamac parts was nearly as good as the finish on the metal parts, these would be awesome, because the bluing they do on these is typically really good, and the machining on the metal is always good. So but a nice little plinking gun. Like I said, this is kind of a rare bird. The 6.5s and the other model lengths in my area, this is the first one of these I've ever seen, and I just happened to find it at Bypass. I know Bud sells this one particular model, and that's the only one I could find with a 7.5 inch barrel. Because when I bought this one, I went on a search for a Heritage that had, you know, just made sense that they should have made one with a 7.5 inch barrel, because that was the original Colt 1873 Army barrel length, 7.5 inches. So anyway, so that is a look at our Heritage, and yeah, awesome little guns. Just don't let the finish and stuff bother you. These are awesome little guns. You know, occasionally you'll get a bad one, but that's with all companies. I will give you, Heritage is owned by Taurus, and I can tell you right now, dealing with their customer service is like, well, it's terrible. Probably the worst customer service out there. But anyway, with that being said, that you get a good one, and they're a good gun. And then in comparison, we have our Ruger Wrangler. Now, this was just new out this year. And of course, these are the premium gun grips, but let you look at the finish on it as opposed to the Heritage. And you can see that, you know, you have a little casting mark. Every one I've ever got's had that little casting mark. And you do have your casting seam that could have been milled down a little closer, but you know, these are inexpensive guns. The frame on this is far better finish. This is a Cerakote finish, but it is a smoothly applied and very nicely done Cerakote finish. The barrel on this is cold hammer forged, Cerakoted as well, so the whole gun finish pretty well matches. One of the big differences is Ruger does not put much of a crown on their revolvers. They pretty much just lop off the end of the barrel, give a little radius around here, as opposed to the Heritage, which actually has a pretty nice crown to the end of the muzzle, if you can see that. But you know, very nice crowning on the Heritage, and that's one of the things I think helps with their accuracy. But this one is it's not a traditional single action in the sense that the cylinder will spin both ways. You do not have to cock the hammer in order to rotate the cylinder when you open this gate. And this is one of the easiest opening Ruger gates I've got yet. Sometimes when these are new, these are extremely difficult to open. But you do not need to, there is no half cock or anything of that nature. It's all the way back. So that's kind of the difference in the Ruger. A much better finish gun. These last couple I bought have been more accurate than the early editions. I have one of the first model, the 200 series, when they first started making them, and it honestly, I don't know, the more I shoot it, the more accurate it becomes. I think maybe that the Rugers need more rounds put through them to get broke in and get that barrel seasoned in. I'm not sure. The hammer, or the trigger on the Ruger, is a wide, smooth radius hammer, or trigger I should say, not a hammer. The trigger is smooth radiused, wide. The hammer, these parts are all metal injected molded. So, pretty nice little gun. The trigger pull on this is probably a little bit heavier than the Heritage. The Heritage has kind of well, this model has a little bit wider trigger. Some of them have a very narrow trigger. This one looks to have a little wider trigger, and it's radiused over the edges. I don't know if you can see that radius on the trigger. The older 6.5 inch I got has a really narrow trigger, so that might be an upgrade that they've recently done. But this has a much better trigger pull. And one of the beauties about the Heritage, I know people gripe about the safeties, but this is one of the few .22 long rifles you can actually put the safety on, and you can dry fire this gun. So it does not hurt to dry fire this gun as long as you have the safety on, because that hammer does not come in contact with the firing pin. It stops it short. So this is dry fire safe, and that gives you the ability to kind of get the feel for the trigger with a little dry fire practice. So anyway, guys, I just thought it was interesting to see that the Ruger 7.5 and the Heritage 7.5, what they're, let's see, let's check their weights and see how comparable they are in weight. So that is in pounds. We don't want that. Grams. Let's go to ounces. So I'll lay the Heritage aside, and we will weigh our Ruger. And it is unloaded. So unloaded, we have a weight of 35. If that light's not blocking I don't know where that's coming from. 35.56 ounces. So 35.5 ounces. So on our Heritage, we have 34.1. So the Heritage is just slightly lighter. but about an ounce, ounce and 4/10. So not a lot of difference in the weight. The Heritage does have the capability of you purchasing a Magnum cylinder. So that is one of the benefits you have with the Heritage, that it can be converted to 22 Magnum. And with this longer 7.5-inch barrel, it not only will give you better performance out of the Magnum, but that 7.5-inch barrel, which I never was really a fan of the longer barreled revolvers, but after getting this Ruger and now this Heritage, I see the advantage of the longer sight radius, and the handling of it is, I always thought a long-barreled gun would be awkward, but actually this 7.5-inch is kind of a good sweet spot, I think. I think if you got much longer than that, it might become a little more awkward, but and shorter is definitely lighter and quicker, but that's just a good compromise between velocity, sight radius, and shootability, and yeah. So anyway, guys, a couple of my revolvers. I actually bought this gun just because of that gun. So anyway, we are going to shoot these and put some different ammos through them and compare their accuracies, and that'll be coming up later on probably. I haven't been doing a lot of shooting videos because the weather's crappy, and I'm gonna need something this summer to to fill this to fill some time. So a lot of these are going to be put off a while before I do any really hardcore ammo testing and comparison videos. So we're definitely going to shoot this, and we're going to shoot them both together. But as far as accuracy in different ammos, that'll probably be a little while. Anyway, guys, I've rambled too long. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Y'all mean the world to me. I wouldn't have a channel if it wasn't for you guys, and I really want you to know how much I appreciate you. And with that being said, we'll see you guys on the next video. God bless.